We the lazy declare that we will recline when we feel inclined. And yes, we feel inclined.
We answered our kids' questions all day. It's our time to prioritize, no priorities.
Why?
Because
We put in back-to-back doubles. So now we'll be putting in extra OT right here.
We've checked off our to-do list.
Now we're checking off our to-don't list.
We the lazy are taking back lazy.
By getting comfy on our Lazy Boy furniture.
Lazy Boy, long live the lazy.
When storms start to blow and danger strikes, we come together to face any challenge as a community. And when trouble hits our county, HCFL Alert is your #1 source for information. HCFL Alert is with you before, during, and after the storm. To sign up, visit hcfl.gov/HCFL Alert so we know how and when to notify you about local emergencies. The safest way through bad weather is together.
Time, weather, and always.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Chief Meteorologist Dennis Phillips. Heat, still the hot topic of weather conversation, right?
Streaming from the ABC Action Weather Center in Studio A, this is Dennis Phillips Live, brought to you by Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries. Long live the lazy, and by HCFL Alert.
How you doing, everybody? It is a Tuesday night edition of Dennis Phillips Live. You know, things have settled down over the last couple of weeks. We still obviously have a ton of folks dealing with, so many things with Helene, with Milton, and with what's going on in the tropics. I mean, I get it. People are nervous about it, but I'm here to tell you that I really, truly believe the odds of a direct impact of any kind of a significant system are pretty low. I mean, way higher that we're not going to have to worry about anything out of this. And we'll get into it in just a minute. But, I did run into something kind of what I thought was kind of funny today on my Facebook page. So, I went from about 700,000 followers to 1.25 million after the 2 hurricanes. So I got a lot of new folks. And it struck me because I threw out a little comment and I said something like, I'm not worried about it. Heck, I'm putting up my Christmas decorations. Now, folks who've been here for a while know that I am absolutely obsessive about Christmas decorating, and I am Clark Griswold. But I forgot that there's about 600,000 people who have no idea that that's the case. So we started to get those little, hey, it's too early to decorate for Christmas. And at first I'm like, oh man, haven't I gone through this for years? And then I thought, well, no, actually I probably haven't, because there's a lot of new folks out there. So for the new folks out there, I am truly a Christmas enthusiast, about as high as it gets. Our neighborhood in Palm Harbor does a massive Christmas display where it's been going on for 30, 40 years. People drive in and line up a quarter of a mile down the main road to get in, just because the decorations are that awesome. So that starts in terms of the decorations. I'm the house that has the music computer synced with the lights. And that takes a lot of time. That takes weeks to put it all together, to wire it all, to get everything up. And of course, every year I buy new decorations. And I kind of slowly expand it outward. In fact, my next door neighbor, a really nice guy, Mr. Carl. Mr. Carl is in his 80s, and he doesn't really do a lot of decorating much anymore. So we decorate for him. So what we've done is, as my purchases expand out a little bit, what happens is I have my lights in my yard. I have a pretty little front yard. It's not very big. And I squinch everything together, but I have the music on the house and the lawn decorations all synced to the lights and everything. But yet I've included moving my decorations into Carl's yard, but those ones I don't blink with the lights, so it looks like he actually has them, he has done them himself. So it's a win-win. I get more room to put out more decorations. Mr. Carl gets a nice, more of a classic display with a lot of the, no inflatables on that side. By the way, and if you're kind of new to DPL, like, wait a minute, is this the hurricane guy? I'm confused. Yeah, he's wearing the hoodie, but we're not talking hurricanes. We will. And I'm telling you flat out, there's not as much to worry about as you may think. But so last year, I had a 12-foot inflatable Frosty, and we had a video recorder, not a video player, that played Christmas videos on his stomach. That's the way it's supposed to work out. It's designed to do that, right? So I had Christmas Story, Miracle on 34th Street, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Rudolph, Charlie Brown, all of those in a loop of about a 2-minute loop, and they would play on his stomach. Well, I don't remember what day it was. I think it was like the 26th or 27th, and it's 2 in the morning, and we hear a boom, like a really loud boom. Like, what the heck? Oh, we thought somebody wrecked. We thought someone crashed. Went outside. It's a true story. Someone had shanked Frosty. It's a true story. So, what the heck? Somebody took a knife and stabbed Frosty, and he blew up. Now, fortunately, Frosty has a lifetime guarantee. So I was able to pack his remains up and put it in a box and send it back, and they sent me a new one. This year we have Frosty booby-trapped. So anybody, you think I'm joking? Try me. And video cameras everywhere, you know, with license plates and the whole 9 yards. Because, you know, I'm like, all right, one time I'll put up with it, but second time, no. There will be revenge to be had. So I'm just saying, we got cameras, we got everything going on. If Frosty meets his demise again, there will be problems. So, exactly, Pamela. It's Frosty forever. It's like in the which I never was a fan of, by the way, that TV show. I never was a fan of Frosty the Snowman. You know, Jimmy Durante was, I don't know, the bandmaster or whatever. But it's like, and Frosty died. I mean, how devastating is that? When you're a kid and you're watching Frosty and this little girl loves Frosty and Frosty dies. Frosty melts into just a puddle of water. And I get it, Santa. I get it. When the new magic of the new fallen snow hits the water, he turns into Frosty again, but he still died. That traumatized me. I'm not lying. That one traumatized me. All right, so anyway, so I repeat, Christmas, Halloween decorations go away on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and then I start. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get all the lights and up and all the electronics hooked up and everything. So, but you know, Thanksgiving is late this year. It's the 28th. So I feel like we're cheated a week already. I mean, I know a lot of folks, my parents were the same way. We don't light our light, this is my dad, we don't light our lights until the day after Thanksgiving. And that was always a thing. But in my world now that luckily I'm the dad, I can light my lights whenever the heck I want to. And if I'm going to put that much work into everything, I want them up longer. And if it's the end of November, which is Thanksgiving, I would prefer to do it a week earlier. So we will see how, oh boy, I see somebody on here. So let's go ahead and ban one up. Oh man, hold on, stand by. You guys, you have to hold on for just a second, okay? Because you know what's on the way. There's somebody spamming this stuff here, okay? But ban forever. Okay, gone forever. I gotta get, just a second, I'll be right back. I gotta get my ban button here. So Anna Maria sent a ban button. I don't know what happened. Oh, here we go. All right. So whenever someone starts spamming or they're being rude or whatever, Wang Lee, you're gone. All right? You are gone. Okay. So here's what I want to start with, okay? We're going to start local, all right, since, you know, Halloween's coming up. How you doing, Sandra? Jody, nice to see you. So let's go ahead and we've got the easterly flow. We've talked about this 70 billion times. You get an east to west flow. There will be a few showers inland, a couple on the east coast. By the way, just so you know, the forecast that I busted on 30 years ago, literally 30 years ago to the day practically, it was Halloween, was this kind of a pattern. And this was before I learned my lesson. This was before I learned humility in terms of the forecast of the Florida weather, knowing the Florida weather can sometimes do what Florida weather does, and there's just no way around it. You can't forecast it. Most of the time you can. Occasionally, throws you a curve. So we had this east wind. I'm like, well, no fronts, no lows. We had no rain on the day before. We were at a pretty dry atmosphere aloft. Low levels looked pretty good. I'm like, no, it's not going to rain. And we had a Florida thing like what we're having right now. So I do think there will be a handful of isolated sprinkles lasting 5 minutes on Halloween, but certainly not too many. Not too many. All right, so Mary's watching intently from Atlanta, wondering what in the world is going on. Are we going to talk tropics or not? I promise we are, but this is more indicative of a typical DPL, especially when there's nothing going on. And I repeat, I throw this out here. The threat for Florida from this storm at this point is pretty low. It's not zero, but I'll show you why in a minute. But the longer that we wait, the longer this thing takes to develop, the more shear it's going to run into, the more cooling of the waters it's going to run into. I mean, everything kind of comes together where, again, I'm certainly not going to sit here and say, while it's still hurricane season, that we cannot have a storm when one's going into the Northern Caribbean, where historically that's where they go. But I don't think the ingredients are even close to what we had with previous storms. All right, so anyway, so there we go. Temperatures right now low to mid 80s. Highs today we hit the mid to upper 80s. Very breezy out there. We've got the exact same setup the next couple of days. Partly cloudy and 83 right now at the airport in Tampa. East winds gusting to about 20 miles an hour. This thing keeps doing this. I don't know why this camera keeps getting buggy on me, but it does. I'm gonna have to change that. Anyway, there's Clearwater. We hit 87 today. That's 4 degrees above average. We dropped down to 68. That's 3 degrees above average. It snowed in 1989, Joan. It snowed in the Bay Area and in Gainesville in 1989. How do I know that? Because I was working in Gainesville. I was working at WCJB Channel 20 in Gainesville. Christmas morning, we had 2 inches of snow. I lived up north, Virginia, kind of up north. Went to Penn State. Don't think I ever had snow on Christmas. My first year in Florida, they shut down I-75 with ice, and we had 2 inches of snow on Christmas morning. Welcome to Florida. That should have been my warning. Right there, that should have been my warning. But Joan asked if we were going to get snow for Christmas. So, yeah, I mean, it snowed all the way down to the Bay Area. Whitney's saying Sarasota. Yeah. Yeah, you're looking. All right, so anyway. All right, let's go back. So there's that east to west flow. All right. A couple of isolated showers. Nothing much. I mean, obviously, if you happen to be underneath one of them, then a 3-minute shower, you'd get wet, but not much. It's just not going to be a big deal. I'm telling you, it's really not. So there it takes us through Wednesday and takes us through into Thursday. Halloween looks good. It'll be mild, it'll be humid, it'll be mostly dry, and it'll be a typical Florida Bay Area Halloween where you're sweating up a storm and you're trying to keep up with the kids and you got the wagon. I mean, let's be honest. The times have changed. You know, it used to be you got everybody, all the kids just running around. Now you got the wagon pulling the dog and pulling the little kid and everything else. It is more of an event. It is going to be, and by the way, I do think this is something we ran a story on, and it was kind of a good thinking. There's still a ton of debris out there. There's still a ton of debris out there, whether it's trees or whether it's, unfortunately, still possessions that have been put out to the curb. Remind the kids there could be sharp objects around there, walking, I mean, at the very least, sharp tree limbs, right? Still sticking out near the sidewalk, and they run by them and they could get cut. So remind the kids that it really is a thing. And I'm usually not the, I have six kids. I'm not a stressed dad. I'm the opposite. Like, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. That's me. That is the way. Maybe not after my first kid, but after you've had 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, you're like, they're fine. So, but I repeat, I mean, it is something to remember if the kids are going out. Remind them about all the debris. Nails possibly, glass possibly. It's still a thing. and there's still a lot of stuff laying out there. So anyway, all right, so I'm going to continue with the forecast, and then I'll answer your questions after. That's usually the way we work on this. All right, so, yeah, 6 kids. My oldest, I keep forgetting. There's a lot of new people. I keep forgetting. There are a lot of new people on this thread. 2 months ago, it was always the same 500 to 1,000. You know, now we're 3,000, 4,000. We're 50,000 during a storm, and there's a lot of new folks. I have 6 kids. My oldest is a doctor in New Orleans. My second oldest lives in South Tampa. My daughter's finishing up her doctorate in occupational therapy in Denver. She graduates UF in a month. She likes Colorado. My fourth is a senior at FSU, Josh. My fifth is a junior at Palm Harbor University. And my youngest, Ryan, a lot of you probably know, she's 10 years old after seeing that softball tournament. Did you understand what I was saying about the whole softball lunacy? Here we go again. Squirrel? All right. My daughter, 10 years old, they had a softball tournament in Ocala. She plays travel ball softball. She likes to play softball. She enjoys it. Her friends are there. It's more of a social thing for her rather than a hardcore thing. But anyway, they had a Halloween tournament where they dressed up and everything, and that was fun. They really liked it. Her games on Friday night, this is 10 and under, her games were 1 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. That was Friday night. Saturday night, she started playing at 9 or 9:30, and they did not finish until 9:30 the next morning. It was lunacy. I mean, I'm telling you, hurricane coverage was cake compared to the grueling nature of sitting in those lawn chairs for 12, 14 hours and watching these 10-year-olds and 9-year-olds play softball while they're exhausted. And they ended up winning. So they had a good tournament, but man, who comes up with an idea of a softball tournament for 10 years old or under? I get it, middle school or high school. I do. I mean, I think high school. But man, literally 9 p.m. until 9:30 a.m., they watched the sunrise. I mean, anyway, that was my weekend. Yeah, I don't know, Sandra. I just don't think it's my thing. Yeah, KM, big game for the Nittany Lions this week against Ohio State. Ohio State's beat Penn State 7 straight years, and Drew Aller, Penn State's quarterback, is hurt with a bad ankle. Hopefully he'll be back in, although the backup did pretty well, but I don't think against Ohio State. Yes, Ryan, I added that. I will show you, but I did add the pumpkin just for you. When I put that pumpkin on there, I even thought about that. Hey, yeah, Karen, so they have these rockers. If you go on Amazon and type in rocking portable lawn chair, they've got I don't remember, the brand is like GHC or 3 initials or something. They're really comfortable. They're very good. I don't have one. I didn't want to spend the $70, but a lot of the people on the team did and do. So they swear they're very, very comfortable. Okay. So I did see that, Michael. I saw that he's in West Palm. Yeah, I saw he's over at our sister station, our Scripps station. Anyway, there's a look at rainfall forecast. Not much. I mean, there's a chance there could be a few sprinkles here and there, more there than here. Same thing on Saturday. Temperatures. All right, here we go. Wednesday morning, lower 70s, upper 60s to low 70s. Afternoon highs, mid to upper 80s. Warm, muggy, breezy. There it is. You've heard of hazy, hot, and humid. Warm, muggy, breezy. Halloween morning, lows upper 60s to low 70s. Highs in the mid to upper 80s. GFI, thank you, Amy. I knew it was 3 letters, so thank you. Oh yeah, the squirrel thing. Okay, having 6 kids, I have seen the movie Up once or 50 times. Remember in the movie Up, when the dog, he's like, squirrel? Because he goes in an opposite direction. Remember the movie? If you haven't seen the movie, that's where it's from. Up is a really sad Pixar movie. To me, it's the saddest one. I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but the guy's wife dies early on, and it's just a really, really sad thing. If you haven't seen it by now, it's been out for 20 years. But it is. It's a terribly sad show. Anyway, there's a dog in there that goes, squirrel. All right. So there's a look at temperatures on Halloween. Friday morning, a little cooler, mid to upper 60s. Well, certainly less stressful, Sabrina, right? I mean, it is certainly less stressful than the hurricane days. Hopefully we are done with those. It is a great movie, Carrie. It's a great movie, but it is so sad. Highs averaging mid to upper 80s through next week. Now, you notice at the end of next week, you see a drop in temperatures. Is that 1A, a cold front, or 2B, clouds and tropical moisture from our system in the Caribbean? Time will tell. Time will tell. All right, so here we go. Showing you this map, the blue area, this map shows you the number of named storms in the month of November in the last 100 years. There have been 10 to 30. The majority of them form either in the Caribbean, in the Bahamas, or out in the north central Atlantic. All right? So the big question is, where is this thing gonna go? And I will get to that. I'm looking at the NHC if any new numbers are out yet. Seeing if the 8 o'clock advisory is out. It is, and it's still 40, 040. I would not be surprised if we see no changes for the next 5 days. There's your forecast. Clear tonight. Tomorrow for the boaters, east winds 20 to 25 knots. Really breezy out there. Seas 2 to 3 feet. Water temperature now at 79 degrees. So that is an important number. Remember, 80 or above is usually when we have tropical development. I mean, 79 is not a huge difference, but my point is the water continues to cool, which is a good thing for anything that does develop. Good thing in the sense of weakening. All right. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. Hello from Hawthorne. Edward, how are you? Wait a minute. All right, Bridget, I'm looking. I'll see if it comes up again. All right, there's the 7-day. And Ryan, as you mentioned, there is the pumpkin on Thanksgiving. I will tell you, we had some art people that did not like our old school retro graphics. And I strongly disagreed with that. Strongly. Because I think, the graphic package was like a lot of the phone graphics, real simplistic, like you're used to seeing on your phone. But I truly believe there's a decent number of people out there who like seeing festive graphics. Look, not to mention, this has been a really terrible stretch of weather for our area for the last couple of months. Anytime we can spread some levity, some cheer, a smile, I'm all for it. All right? So there you go. All right, now, this is a look at the 12Z European. Now, I'm going to show you something on this. We're going to go through time here. Okay? This is 120 hours out. We still have no development at all. So that takes us to November 3rd, which is what, Sunday? Yeah. So as of Sunday, nothing, all right? Then we go to Monday, still nothing. A week out, still very little. I use the expression the stalking turtle. This is going to be one of those, if it even develops at all. But the Euro then shows you we start to see some development in the middle of next week. And then you see the solutions are all over the place. Some are into Central America, some are over Cuba. Now, there is obviously a track there in red that's a little concerning. The one right here, the one right there, right? That's obviously a little concerning. But overall, I still think the potential for development and threatening Florida is still less than 50%. And there's the Euro. It literally covers the entire Gulf of Mexico. And oh, by the way, even a few off to the east, but mostly the Gulf of Mexico. Now, I'm going to show you the GFS. Okay, the GFS is interesting, far more bullish on development. Okay, this is, you start to see some development. Yeah, I'm going to actually slow this down. I'm going to stop it. All right. So this is the GFS for Halloween. This is for Friday. This is for Saturday. This is for Sunday. You start to see low pressure develop. Monday around Cuba. See it right there in Cuba. Tuesday. This is still a week out. This is 8 days out. And we're now finally just beginning to see some development. So, guys, we are going to be talking about this nonsense for the next week. I doubt the Hurricane Center changes their tune. Lizzie, it's very funny. I doubt the Hurricane Center changes their tune, so I think they keep 040 probably for a while. Then next Thursday, now then the GFS brings two systems. You got one here, and you got one here. That just happens to be what the GFS is showing right now. It'll change, as it always does. And then you do see some development in the southeastern Bahamas by next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend. And then you've got this storm, this hurricane, right there. Clearly something we would rather not have to deal with. Is it possible? Sure, it's possible. Not, I can't say that it's likely this far out, but it's possible. And then it does, to make it even more interesting, it just loops it around in a circle, because there will be no steering currents that far out. So honestly, at this point, it is absolutely positively a dartboard. All right, that's my rule number 7 hat. You know what? That's the hat that I wore all weekend at the softball tournament. All right, so, and again, for the new folks, if you're interested in our Rule 7 stuff, all the proceeds benefit local charities and whatnot. And you can go to the top of my Facebook page and you'll see the link for the clothing and the link for the Etsy. Now let's look at the Euro AI. The Euro AI has been pretty good this year, and it does a lot of nothing. It develops very weak low pressure for the next 10 days. So and there you kind of see it there over the Yucatan. So Euro AI doesn't do much of anything, and neither does the Euro deterministic. But it does bring broad low pressure 10 days out. So again, guys, this is my point. We are going to be talking about this nonsense for the next 10 days. I don't think there's any way around it. This is 10 days out, just beginning to take shape. Now you look at the the GFS 10 days out. You know, you're starting to see a similar setup right there. So we certainly cannot write this off, but this is going to take a while, and probably a long while. So here's the latest from the Hurricane Center. 40% still. Keyword, gradual development is possible. Could form over the weekend while the system drifts generally north. Well, possibly. Might even be longer than that if the models are right. Rainfall for our area the next 7 days, 0. We're going to be like 3 weeks without any rain at all. And this is the Climate Prediction Center. You know, they issued this thing where it says the potential for development, just typical stuff, as you would expect with a very slow developing system. There could be some stuff down there. So what have we learned? Well, folks, I hate to say this, not a heck of a lot. Here's what we've learned. For the next week, nothing's going to happen. 7 to 10 days out, I think you're going to start to see development, and it probably will be in the Northern Caribbean. At that point, whether it goes west into the Yucatan, whether it goes east into Cuba, whether it goes north into the Gulf, it's too early to tell. I buy that. We should ban hurricane season. If I had the power, I would. Bill wants to know where the 540 line is. Bill, you know what? That is a good question. Bill is all about wanting to know where the cold fronts are. So let's look at the 540 line for Bill. 540 line is the freezing line, by the way. Oh, streamers are going to be gone soon. So here, I'm going to show you where the 540 line is. There's the cold weather. My daughter's going to get some snow in Colorado, maybe. Your 540 line nowhere near the east. Well, it goes into like New York next weekend. So there you go. But for everybody else, nothing. Streamers, Thank you for watching. We'll be back on Thursday. I suspect we'll have the exact same. Oh, no, I won't. I'll be trick-or-treating on Thursday. No DPL. Maybe a quick live out in the field. Have a great night. We'll see you next time. Okay, streamers are gone. All right, so now, as I was saying, I can answer your questions. Hold on, I'm looking for something on here. Yeah, I can't find it. I can't find it. But anyway, just remember the rules, guys. You know, no politics and no nonsense and no nastiness, and everybody get along just swimmingly, all right? People are saying ban this, ban this. I don't need that. I don't need. I mean, we don't need like to be just everybody just ganging up on somebody. I promise you, I will see stuff, and I will do that. All right, so let's get back to where we were. Nothing for the next 7 days. 7 to 10 days, slow development. Stalking turtle in effect. If the GFS is right, you have a stronger system. Oops, the hat again. Oop, and the hoodies. There we go. Those Etsy tabs are all for the stuff. They're not for me. I'm not a shopper. They are all for the Rule 7 stuff. So there's a look at the GFS, you know, develops, does a loop, and then comes back. So that's next weekend. That's not even this weekend. But if you look at next Thursday, there's the GFS. If you look at the Euro next Thursday, it is a very similar look. So that is kind of interesting. That is definitely kind of interesting because there is the Euro and there's the GFS, both about 9 days out. So surprisingly amount of agreement that far out. Now the GFS also has another storm out in the Bahamas, but we'll see. All right, so that's it, guys. I'm inclined to think that whatever this is will get pushed away from Florida at some point. But if you look at the ensembles, you know, there's definitely a wide range of possibilities, but they do include Florida in a couple of spots. So we cannot write this one off entirely, but as I mentioned earlier, I'm not losing any sleep, and I'm putting up my Christmas decorations. I did not put up my Halloween decorations because I strongly felt Milton was going to be a big impact on our area. I did not put up the skeletons or any of the decorations. I will be putting up Christmas decorations this weekend and taking down the Halloween stuff because I don't think the impacts on our area at this point will be much to worry about. Can't guarantee it. It's 10 days out. But in November, the odds are much higher this will be running into negative impacts, shear, etc., other than an area conducive for development. Okay? All right, let's see. Let me go ahead and answer your questions now. I will answer questions. Let me look and see what your questions are. Okay. Scott's asking me if I can go on a cruise. I can't go, and no. I've got so many speaking engagements the next couple of months. After a big storm like this, obviously, I get swamped with requests, and I try to do as many as I can. So yeah, I won't be going anywhere anytime soon, unfortunately, but that's very kind. All right, what else? Let's see. How you doing, Cynthia and Seminole? Good to see you. No, that is absolutely, oh, Vincent, you know what, Vincent, that's twice. Okay, Vincent, I know you know a little bit about weather, but this is 2 times. You show me where I wrote off Milton ever on that storm. That is absolutely a lie. One more time, you're gone, because that is just not true. Vincent has some knowledge in weather too, but he likes to fabricate stuff for some reason. We had low pressure, a tropical depression over the Pacific that went across, and we said we had never had a track like that before. But when all the models were obviously showing something from the Western Gulf, it's gonna go east eventually, it would be foolhardy to say, oh, Florida's not gonna get anything. It's just a bunch of nonsense. No, I did not, because I gave him another chance, and I think maybe that's what happens when I give people second chances. Probably shouldn't. But the bottom line is, for 10 days, we said Milton was going to be impacting Florida. We just didn't know if it would be a big surge issue. And that was depending, I mean, especially, it was a Cat 5 with 180 mile an hour winds, for heaven's sakes. Yeah, okay, I'm going to go out and say, oh, it's not going to be anything when it's got 180 mile an hour winds. Give me a break. So, all right. So you have been warned twice now, Vincent. All right? You have been warned twice. I did not block him because I wanted to give him another chance, even though he pulled this nonsense before. Maybe I just should. No, I'm going to give him one more chance because he knows weather. Maybe he works at another station. Maybe he's like, he's kind of got, oh, let's go in and try to tick off Dennis. Well, it doesn't tick me off. It makes me laugh, truthfully. Because you guys know me. Now that I have the ban button, I mean, you saw the pastor in Brandon with the whole, because I mentioned you're banned for life and the afterlife, and he got a kick out of that. That's when he deemed me the Pope of West Central Florida, which, trust me, wrong guy, way too many vices. But it was very funny. It was extraordinarily funny. Rachel Mayaka, how you doing? All right, let us see. Anything else? No, I did not. Hashtag ban Vincent. I don't want this to become that kind of a place. I truly don't. I don't want everybody to say ban, 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 ban. That's not what we're wanting to do. We're wanting to help people, encourage them, positivity, right? All the good stuff. Not the negative. John in Orlando, how you doing? Marcy, nice to see you. Thank you very much. Oh, Stephanie, yeah, your Steelers. Hey, you know what? I'll tell you, Russell looks pretty good. Russell Wilson looks pretty good. My fantasy team is on a 5-game win. It might be Cantori, Bridget. My fantasy team is on a 5-game winning streak. So I started out 0-3. I have McCaffrey. We had a massive computer problem, and I was supposed to have the 5th pick, and I was drafted. My mind, mock drafts, everything was the 5th pick, and all of a sudden it screwed up everything in. I got the 1st pick. And I didn't want the 1st pick. I wasn't ready, and it happened literally like 2 minutes before I was supposed to pick. So I had to go with my default with McCaffrey. And I know, Jules, you went with Tyreek, who actually didn't do very well either. He has not done well. Punta Gorda, Camilla, how you doing? Nice to see you. The Millers in Brandon. Nice to see you guys. Betty. Tragic. But Betty's a Buckeye, but that's okay because, I'm a Nittany Lion and you guys own us, and that's just the way it is, and you'll probably beat us again this weekend because that's what happens. But, Derek, Amon Ra's awesome, but not on the 1st pick you wouldn't have taken him. I'm guessing that was like a 7th or 8th pick, I'm assuming. Anna and Kara Wood, how are you? Yeah, I mean, Jules, McCaffrey's supposed to be back next week. I wonder how they're going to use him. I mean, if I can find a way to make it in the playoffs, then I would love to have him because he'll probably be a stud. But, boy, it's really, really hard to have your 1st pick out for the year so far, unless you had Jordan Mason, which I did have him as a handcuff. People are like, wait a minute. Weather? Sports. What are we doing here? We do it all. We do movies. I got a question for you guys. Since we're now with our core folks here, you guys are just everything. I will answer all your questions. Thank you, Tina. I appreciate it. I'm looking here. I'm trying to see. Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, this is kind of what happens, and it's really sad and frustrating. You get it. National media is very much guilty of this. Local isn't. I mean, I always tell people, you know, there's a lot of people out there, oh, the media, this and that, and fake news and all these things. I can't comment on national media because I don't work for national media, but you got to remember, every single person that you see on local news stations are your neighbors. I mean, I've been doing this in fact, I think this is my anniversary. Like, I think my 30th anniversary might have been like 2 days ago. I don't know. I didn't keep track of it, but it certainly was around now. And, you know, I can honestly tell you, every single reporter and anchor that I've ever worked with here, and it's been everybody, because I've been here from day one, I'm the only guy left on air who's been here from day one, and they're your neighbors. They're people who have the same issues that you do. They're trying to pay their insurance. They're trying to fix Jason Adams, weather guy, Jason Adams, had his roof damaged. He's had his ceiling and his tile damaged. I mean, we all go through the same things that you guys do. So when people are crying, oh, the media is this and the media is that, look, I can't speak to national stuff because I don't have I've never worked national. I don't know who that is, but I know local. And they're people just like all of us, and they're neighbors who are trying to help neighbors. And so when you see what our neighbors are going through over the last several weeks, first with Debbie, really, in Manatee County in Sarasota, and then with Helene was just devastating for people who lived on the water. I was telling you last week, you're driving down Alternate 19 in Pinellas County, and you just see everybody's possessions out there in the front of their yard, ruined. It's just devastating. And then Milton was more of wind and heavy rain. I mean, we had the flooding was different. We did not have surge in our area with Milton. We had flooding from rainwater. Helene, we had flooding from surge. So we've literally had everything this year. And that's why I get it. So many people are just like, I've had enough. I don't want to hear this anymore. And that's why I try my best to provide a little bit of sanity when it comes to these forecasts, because you've heard me say this a billion times, not 11 billion, just a billion, is why focus on the worst case scenario? Now, there's some people out there who say, well, you know, you should focus on the worst case scenario because we want to know every possible thing. And I guess I get that mentality. I do. But I think you're in the minority, the people who feel that way. There are some who feel that way. But I think the majority of the people just want to know what's going to happen. And by always focusing on the worst case, the majority of the time, the worst case is not going to happen. Let's be honest, with Milton, it was awful, but it was not the worst case, because that eye went landfall south of the Bay Area, went into Siesta Key. If that eye had gone into Newport Richey, we would have had a 10 to 12 foot, 15 foot surge in the bay, and it would have been double as bad as it was with Helene. So it was not the worst case scenario. It was awful, but it wasn't worst. But yet, for some reason, there's some people out there that always want to post and focus on the worst. My take is I try to be equal opportunity. I'm like, look, here's the bottom line. If this is just as likely as this, then why do you always focus on this? Wouldn't it be more accurate? Accurate, interesting word. Wouldn't it be more accurate to give both the same amount of leverage, same amount of weight until we have a better idea of what something's going to happen? I do agree that people need to know how bad something can be so they can make decisions, but that's not 10 days out. That's not 14 days out where the accuracy is going to be horrific. Guarantee you, when you see those posts of those worst case scenarios 10 days out, they're wrong 95% of the time. They might be right 5% of the time, but they're wrong 95% of the time. So are you going to trust seeing something that's wrong 95% of the time? Or are you going to try to think, well, maybe we can get a little bit of everything and have a better idea of what we feel is actually going to happen? That's my take. I'm not saying I'm right. It's just the way I do it. So with these potential development 10, 12 days out, if you were asking me, am I downplaying it? Okay, where's Vincent? Because in this particular case, yeah, I'm downplaying a worst case scenario with this because there's so many things that have to go right for this storm to develop and impact Florida. Am I saying it can't happen? No way. We just saw models. Look, we have spaghetti models right now on the Euro that shows a Cat 1 hurricane coming into Florida. Right there. Right, that's what that red line is. So it'd be foolhardy to say it can't happen. But let's say, look, you have one that goes there and you have 50 that go here. And that right there, my friends, is my point. You have one or two that go in our area, and you have 49 or 50 that go elsewhere. So why the heck do you give as much airtime and as much credence to that one or two as opposed to the 49 that don't? I can't answer that. I don't know what the motivation is. But in my opinion, that is a disservice to you. It's inaccurate. And over a long period of time, it'll blow up in your face and people will not trust you or depend on you. That is my opinion. That is just my opinion. I may be wrong, but that's my opinion. So there you go. Guys, stop narking on these people. All right, but I do see there's a spammer. So, all right. All right, Thomas is banned for life. Okay, there you go. That's the first time I actually did it and got to hit the buzzer as I did it. That was really empowering. All right, so I know, Nikki, I know that's very kind, but you know how old that makes me feel. I get that all the time. I've been watching you since I was 3 years old, and this person's in their 30s. I'm like, thanks, that's awesome. Should ban people for making that comment because it makes me feel really old. It's very kind. I'm joking. It's very kind. And the loyalty is awesome. I didn't talk about this. I didn't post it on Facebook. It wasn't appropriate at the time. Not sure it still is, but I thank you guys for your support. I did end up winning Best of the Bay for Best Local Newscaster. I think it's like the 6th year in a row, and it's all because of you guys. So I do appreciate your support. I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm not saying I even do it right. I'm just doing it the way that I feel for me is the best. And I would like to think, based on the response that I've had in the hurricane season, when I've gone from 600,000 to 1.25 million, the most followed TV weather person in the country, I owe that to you, and I think there must be something that we're doing right for people to follow it that way. I guess that's kind of my take. So I do appreciate your support and the loyalty. I really do. But that's just me, And I think when it comes to these storms, and there have been times over the years where I've been accused of downplaying storms. I don't ever remember downplaying a storm that was a significant threat to our area. Even earlier in the year, and this was my bad, I typed wrong. I meant to say that Beryl was not a threat to Florida, but I said Beryl was not a threat to the U.S., and it was 2 weeks out. It was literally 2 weeks out. And I said I was pretty confident it was going to go across the Yucatan and would not be a threat to Florida, but I said the U.S. Well, I was wrong because it hit Texas. Now, granted, the track went exactly like I expected through the Yucatan, but then it went more north into Texas as opposed to Mexico. And that was my bad, because that isn't what I meant to say, but it's however you meant to say, whatever. I mean, it's what I said. So I did downplay the threat to Florida, which it didn't impact Florida, but you got to be careful. And that's all I'm saying with these predictions of worst case scenario. I think eventually people will be like, look, they'll see what it is, whatever that is. So, all right. So, guys, I think that is about it. I won't be back on Thursday because I'm going to be out trick-or-treating. I will be live at my house trick-or-treating, and might do a quick little DPL walk through the neighborhood with Ryan. It might be kind of fun. Yeah, you know what? I'll do that on my phone, and it'll just be on Facebook. And Ryan can give you guys kind of a walking tour of the neighborhood, and we'll talk about whatever tropics are out there, because I get the data wherever I am, right? So I guess that's about it. Oh, yeah, I remember it very well, Michael, because I was working in Los Angeles. I was a weekend meteorologist at KCBS in LA, and my boss in LA, Bob Jordan, took a job in Tampa to build this news operation from scratch. We were the Fox station with no news at a building on Columbus or somewhere. I can't remember. I never saw it. But Bob was hired to hire an entire news organization. And I was the weekend guy in LA, and I had worked in Gainesville prior, and he asked me if I wanted to come back to Florida, and I did, because doing the weather in Los Angeles was really boring. You got a minute and a half to do the weather, and half of it was the smog forecast, right? There was just no challenge. And there were very few meteorologists that worked in LA at the time anyway. The Channel 4 was a stand-up comic. Channel 7 was a meteorologist, FSU grad, Dallas Raines, still there, by the way. Our meteorologist, and I was the weekend guy, our main meteorologist was not a meteorologist, weather person, you know. So yeah, I left LA, came here. That was, gosh, my start date was literally, might have been a week ago. So I might have just passed my 30th anniversary and didn't know, because we were kind of busy, right? So anyway, guys, again, thank you for the support. I'm not saying I do it right, but you know what you're going to get with me. And if there's other presentations and other ways that it's out there that you prefer, then I always tell people, we've got a lot of variety out there. There's plenty to choose from. But I do appreciate your loyalty. Again, thanks for the Best of the Bay votes. And let's keep going with the neighbor versus neighbor, helping neighbor. I do want to mention, too, thank you for all the Rule Number 7 purchases. Those proceeds are benefiting local charities. I'm actually going to Feeding Tampa Bay and presenting a check next Thursday, I believe. But it's been great, and we're still taking donations. It's not a donation, it's a purchase, actually. I'll show you. I mean, for the folks who are kind of new, you know, we've got all of our Rule Number 7 stuff. You can go on the top of my Facebook page, and you'll see it. We have clothing, we have water bottles, we have mugs. The mug was created by Dan Kellerman's local guy, and a really nice guy, and he had his art department make that one. We've got swirly designs with different schools. That's UCF right there. There's Miami. There's USF. I mean, they're just colors, but you know, they look like these school colors. There's the Gators, there's the Knoll colors, the Bucks, the Bolts, the Rays, all of it. And again, the clothing is listed under the clothing link, and that's hoodies and tanks, you know, like all the tank tops there. And these are, again, all the proceeds benefit the local charities and the hurricane relief for Helene and for Milton. And if you're interested, again, you can go to the top of the Facebook page and you will see it right there. So guys, I think that's it. Have a great night. We will see you on Thursday, trick-or-treating. But again, if you're just tuning in, this does repeat. 7 or 8 days down the road, we're still probably not going to have much of anything. At some point between 8 and 10, I think we will see some development. And at that point, we'll see what kind of development and where it goes. But for the next week, you got nothing to worry about. Do your thing. Enjoy Halloween. And for those who are like me, who are starting their Christmas decorations, let's do this. And hopefully having no delays or any issues with the weather coming up as well. All right? So have a great night, guys. And I will see you on our next edition of Dennis Phillips Live. See you guys. Night.